everyone. My name is Sara, and this video discusses SDG number 10, Reduced Inequalities. This goal aims to reduce inequality within and among countries.
A big message behind this goal is, nobody is left behind. Every country faces inequality in some way, whether big or small. These inequalities range in various forms, such as economic, gender, disability, race, social, income, and other discriminations. Reducing inequality closely relates with SDG 1, No Poverty. One of the targets under SDG 10 is to sustain income growth of the bottom 40% of the population. This complements SDG 1 through eradicating extreme poverty. Unfortunately, too much of the world's wealth is held by a few individuals, leading to financial and social discrimination. Some of the most impacted people who face inequality are Indigenous and Aboriginal communities, elderly, women and children, communities of low socioeconomic status, persons with disabilities, and migrants and refugees who are trying to find a better life outside of their own country. This is discussed more in SDG 16. These communities are likely to live in environments that have high exposure to pollution and toxic contamination. This is why SDG 10 is important, because equality and prosperity will help countries flourish for everyone despite their backgrounds. Researchers continue to study inequality. Measuring socioeconomic inequality is called the Gini Index. The Gini Index shows the income and wealth distribution within countries from 0 to 100. 0 means income shared equally among all the people, and 100 means that one person has all the income. Central African Republic, Botswana, Haiti, Namibia, and South Africa have the lowest Gini Index inequality. Ukraine, Slovenia, Norway, Slovak Republic, and Czech Republic have the highest equality. The happiest countries include Norway, Denmark, Iceland, Switzerland, and Finland. The unhappiest countries are Rwanda, Syria, Tanzania, Burundi, and Central African Republic. In 2021, Japan ranked number 56, England ranked number 18, and the USA ranked number 19 on the happiest countries list. COVID-19 put every SDG at risk. Before the pandemic, 38 out of 84 countries saw their Gini Index fall, which is good. But there was a 6% increase in the Gini Index afterwards, thanks to unemployment and reduced income. Gender, age, and economic inequality increased as well. There is inequality in Japan. For example, a widening gender gap, which ranked 121st out of 153 countries in 2020. The average salary for men is 329,600 yen a month, while the average woman makes 238,000 yen a month. The amount of working women are slowly increasing thanks to government initiatives. Surprisingly, the number of working women in the USA is slowly decreasing. 15.7% live in poverty. It's also difficult for families to inherit money because of the high inheritance tax, which is taxed at 55%. The average salary is generally lower compared to other developed countries. A company's executives and average employee salary have a small pay gap. A Japanese CEO makes 67 times higher than their employees, while a USA CEO makes 354 times the amount. Because of the high taxes for high-income earners and the inheritance tax, rich families generally tend to lose their wealth within 3 generations. The economic gap widened because of the 2020 pandemic. Many jobs were lost. Consumer spending decreased for non-regular workers, while wealthier people, such as YouTubers and managers of tech firms, continued to buy luxury cars and jewelry. In Tokyo's Shinjuku district, businesses that specialize in luxury items saw an increase of sales. Perhaps the most well-known inequality in Japan is based on ethnicity and race. Racism experienced by people of color and half Japanese are well documented through articles, YouTube videos, and documentaries. In 2020, there were riots and protests in the USA about Black Lives Matter and #StopAsianHate. Japan was also interested in the movement and protested in Tokyo to support BLM. Some Japanese news stations depicted Black Lives Matter in stereotypes and racial imagery to supposedly appeal to the younger audiences. But Americans and other countries found this to be very offensive. The news station that made this video has since apologized. Yet, discrimination within the country isn't protested as much. We see many news articles and radio stations discussing discrimination abroad. But what about in Japan? According to Mainichi Shimbun, a survey from February 2021 conducted by a private organization found that a majority of Japanese people feel there is little to no discrimination. This shows that the issue isn't publicized on the media often, since Japanese media focuses on the problems of other countries. In the same article by Mainichi Shimbun, there was another survey with 1,030 South Korean foreign students and Zainichi Korean students. 30.9% of these students have been harassed for being Korean. 73.9% said they have been ethnically discriminated online, and 23.9% said they received constant racial slurs while shopping in the public stores in Japan. Although Japan's government released the Hate Speech Act in 2016, it doesn't actually ban hate speech. There have only been a few instances of light fines for online hate speech. Another famous example is tennis champion Naomi Osaka, who has a Japanese mother and a Haitian father. Advertising campaigns made her skin lighter on posters. The news about the posters making her skin lighter was featured in the New York Times. At the 2019 live event in Tokyo's Setagawa Ward, some comedians were joking about how she should lighten her skin with bleach. Those comedians have apologized for the joke. Many foreigners are turned away from realtors called housing discrimination. In fact, Japan Times reported that 9 out of 10 private housing units in Tokyo don't allow foreign tenants. I have witnessed discriminating comments in Facebook groups. There were hurtful comments about other Asian communities from Japanese commenters. For instance, I saw a woman had commented under an article about immigration. Her comment in English said, "I'm not being racist, but immigrants from so-and-so country shouldn't live in Japan. We don't want them here." LGBT plus rights are a big topic in Japan. As of 2021, there are no national legislation protecting LGBT plus people from discrimination. Japan is the only country in the G7 that doesn't legally recognize same-gender unions. The TOCOG Human Rights, Labor, and Participation Committee wrote a letter to Olympic President Hashimoto Seiko to address the concerns about the lack of protections for LGBT plus Olympic athletes. They said Japan ranks second to last in the OECD nations that promote LGBT plus inclusiveness. In April 2021, Hashimoto visited Japan's first permanent LGBT plus center to understand the issue. Japan's low rank is surprising since there's generally not a lot of hostility towards LGBT plus members. 68% of the population supports the movement. The government legislation is drafting and proposing laws, but it was noticed by the public that protections against discrimination are not mentioned. It will be interesting to see how the situation unfolds in the future. Ariana Miyamoto is famous in Sasebo since she was born there. Her mother is Japanese and her father is African American. She experienced unfortunate discrimination while attending school in Sasebo about her skin color and hair texture. She won Miss Nagasaki in 2015 and won Miss Japan the same year. After winning Miss Japan, some critics said she doesn't look Japanese enough to represent them. But most Japanese people were fine with her winning. Sasebo City has consultation counters about discrimination, specifically for disabilities, people who had COVID-19 and face prejudice, elderly, gender, and other human rights issues. There is even a consultation number for Ainu people, who are the indigenous group from Japan. The targets within SDG 10 include reduce income inequality, promote social and political inclusion, ensure equal opportunities, improve global financial regulations and institutions, encourage development assistance in developing countries, and implement well-managed migration policies. The community can help SDG 10 by supporting local charities, research about your own labor rights, voice out against discrimination, and vote for politicians that support minority representation.